Revealed, the incredible world before the flood, a sacred story of transformation and covenant. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, when the wickedness of men had reached unprecedented heights, the earth lay under the shadow of despair. A thick fog of darkness embraced the cities of Mesopotamia, where society twisted and corroded under the weight of violence. The laughter that once resonated echoed faintly, drowned by the din of strife. Here stood Noah, a man of remarkable integrity, known as a righteous man blameless among his contemporaries. He walked with God and sought refuge in prayer amidst a world spiraling into corruption. With the sun rising over the Euphrates, Noah often found solace by its banks, where he would recount to his children the wondrous tales of creation. See the beauty of God's handiwork, the vibrant colors of dawn, the sweet songs of little birds, the gentle rustle of leaves, he would whisper, holding his youngest son, Ham, close to his heart. However, a deep sense of foreboding gnawed at his soul as shadows darkened the land, where flesh corrupting flesh seemed unstoppable. Friendship had eroded into contempt, and the pulse of humanity quickened toward its doom. As Noah absorbed the rising tide of lament, the winds began to whisper a divine message. The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, resounded like thunder within his spirit. This was no mere lamentation, it was a divine decree from Yahweh. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Fear and grief entwined in Noah's heart, for he was selected to bear a burden heavier than any mortal man should carry. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood, the Lord directed, his voice cutting through the chaos. The specific dimensions laid out before Noah were not merely instructions, but a sacred lifeline to the remnant of creation. Resolutely he rose to serve, facing the bewilderment of his neighbors, their sneers and jeers echoing through the air. Each stroke of his hammer became a sacred act of obedience amidst the hearts that rejected God's calling and swirled deeper into chaos. Days became months as the ark gradually took shape, a monumental vessel of hope anchored in a barren land. Aaron's laughter rang cruelly in Noah's ears. The people gathered around, their mockery sharpening, but each nail hammered into the wood sent forth waves of faith deep within him. With every plank, he painted a picture of salvation in a world steeped in misery, embodying a covenant between man and his Creator. Yet the aching question remained, would they heed the warning? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey. I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As the first droplets of rain fell, mingling with the dust of the earth, Noah looked heavenward, the weary skies above painted with the weight of judgment. With trembling hands, he sensed the storm of divine restoration brewing on the horizon. How does one navigate through a tempest of faith amidst a people steeped in disbelief? The salvation of mankind hung by a thread, and Noah's unwavering faith clung to an unseen promise, awaiting the unfolding of God's majestic plan amidst the storm, as the darkness crept ever closer. Peaceful yet tumultuous days lay ahead, and divine mystery shrouded the way forward. And it came to pass, as the rains began to descend with an unusual intensity, that the mocking voices raised in derision turned to hushed murmurs of uncertainty. The earth trembled beneath the promise of coming judgment, and shadows of fear flickered across the faces of those who had once laughed at Noah. They had grown uneasy, their hearts now heavy with doubt. Could it be true? Was there potency in the words of the old man who labored tirelessly to build a sanctuary of salvation? Noah continued to work, resolute as he hewed the gopher wood, day upon day, while the sky grew dark above him. The stench of the earth mixed with the sweetness of pine as he crafted the ark, a bulwark against the wrath to come. Each measure spoke of God's faithfulness, a testament to the covenant forged in the depths of his heart. His children helped him, learning the ways of obedience, each understanding a sliver of the monumental task that lay before them. In the nights, as the stars shone dimly behind the roiling clouds, Noah shared with his family the depth of God's command. "The Creator has taken notice of the cries of the oppressed," he would say, his voice heavy with conviction. "He sees our faithfulness, even when the world around us rejects him. We must remain steadfast in our calling." His sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, could not fathom the scope of what lay ahead, yet they knew the weight of their father's words. "Father, will all the world perish?" Shem asked one evening as they sat upon the newly erected beams of their immense vessel. Noah sighed deeply, the burden resting heavily upon his shoulders. "It is not for us to understand the ways of the Almighty, my son," he replied, his heart grieved for those who chose to embrace wickedness. "But let us not waver in our obedience. We may become the vessel of a new beginning." As the days turned into a relentless barrage of rain, the people of the land began to experience their own disquiet. Even Aaron, the leader of the mockers, felt a stirring of anxiety rise within him. The skies wept ceaselessly as the ground drank in the sorrow of these final hours, a fear that grew among the hearts once disinclined to heed the righteousness of Noah. At the culmination of 40 days and nights, the waters surged from below and above. The fountains of the great deep opened wide, and the heavens poured out rain with fury, a testament to Yahweh's declaration. The ark, a sanctuary of obedience, floated anew amid the rising tide, a beacon of hope in a world devoured by its own corruption. But as the violent seas claimed higher ground, the cries of the people outside the ark morphed from mockery to desperation. They rushed to the ark's door, pounding against the walls, pleading for entry. But the invitation had been extended long before, and their hearts had grown hardened. Noah stood within, his heart heavy but steadfast. The Lord had said, "Come into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation." He turned to his family, and they offered their prayers to the God who had sealed them within the safety of his divine provision. In that sacred silence, the flood of destruction rose higher, yet the promise of salvation remained anchored in faith. Noah's heart flickered with the flicker of a flame. God's hand was upon them. In the chaos outside, every heartbeat echoed a solemn truth. Yet in the preservation lay an unshakable mystery. What new world would they emerge into? What destiny awaited them beyond the waters? It became clear that God, in his infinite wisdom, was orchestrating an unfathomable plan, a covenant renewed even through the tempest. As the waves crashed upon the earth, Noah realized that this was but the beginning of a journey into the depths of divine resurrection. And thus, the sovereign hand of God prepared the way to fulfill his promises anew. And it came to pass that as the floodwaters surged, enveloping the land in a deluge of divine judgment, the ark rose high above the tumult. Inside its sturdy walls, a deep stillness blanketed Noah and his family, shielding them from the chaos that raged outside. The cries of the perishing drifted into distant echoes, fading beneath the roar of the mighty flood, as history itself turned upon its axis. Noah, though secure within the ark, felt the weight of sorrow for those who once shared the earth but now faced the consequences of their disobedience. He turned to his family, gathered close, their hearts intertwined in shared faith, and spoke, "Let us remember the mercy of God, even in this hour of darkness. For we are not merely saved, but entrusted with a sacred promise." As the storm continued its furious assault, the days turned into weeks, time stretching endlessly. The waters prevailed, covering the mountains, signifying the complete erasure of a world consumed by evil. Yet within the ark, a divinely orchestrated peace rested upon them. Noah's sons kept watch, their eyes narrowed against the torrents outside, each knowing that their father's faith was the ark's foundation. In moments of quiet, amid the creaking of the ark, Noah instructed his sons to care for the animals aboard, calling them to a stewardship reflective of divine order. "Remember, my sons," he would say, "each creature holds a purpose ordained by God, and in our care we honor his creation." They worked diligently, feeding and tending to their newfound companions, each act a testament to their understanding of the covenant that bound them. As time pressed forward, God's sovereignty was undeniable, the ark serving as a living embodiment of his promise. The rain, which had brought fear to the hearts of many, had become a transformative blessing for those sealed within. In the heart of the ark, prayers ascended, and songs of gratitude emerged against the backdrop of thunder. Then came the day when the rain ceased, and the heavens grew silent. The mists settled over the waters, softening the overwhelming chaos. Noah found the moment ripe for reflection. "Look upon the waters, my family," he said, gazing into the vastness, "for these depths hold our past, yet await the dawn of a new creation." After 40 days and nights, the tumult subsided, and the ark floated gently upon the surface of the transformed world. The sun broke through the gloom, and the light of hope began to pierce the darkened horizon. The family gathered upon the deck, anticipation weaving through their hearts like a golden thread. "God shall remember us," Noah declared, his voice resolute. "Soon we shall see land, and we are called to build anew, to re-establish his covenant with all living things." They waited, intently listening for the subtle signs of life stirring in the depths of the newly cleansed earth. In those moments, a single dove was sent forth from the ark, its wings cutting through the remaining damp air. The watchful eyes of Noah and his sons tracked the bird as it soared into the expanse. Days turned to nights, and the dove returned, twigs of an olive branch nestled in its beak. Noah's heart swelled with revelation, for in that humble leaf lay the promise of renewal, a symbol of hope amid trial, a promise that God would not abandon his creation, that his mercy would cover the expanse of the earth once more. Yet even as they marveled at the olive branch, an undercurrent of divine mystery lingered in the air. What new beginnings awaited them? What lessons from the old world would guide their steps? With each renewed dawn, it became clear that the transformation had only just begun, for God was preparing to establish not just a covenant of preservation, but of purpose that would reverberate through generations yet to come. Thus, as they awaited the land's emergence, Noah perceived the heart of God trembling with profound intention, ready to reveal the next chapter of his sovereign plan. And it came to pass, in the days that followed the dove's return, that the sun shone brighter, casting light upon the dark waters of suffering, illuminating the ark that had become a sanctuary. Noah and his family beheld the promise of renewal unfolding before them as they clung to hope amidst the stillness. On the 41st day, as the waters began to recede, the ark lodged upon the mountains of Ararat. Noah looked out to the horizon and said to his sons, "Prepare yourselves, for soon we shall traverse beyond our shelter, to the land that the Lord shall grant us. Yet let us bow down in gratitude for the protection he has provided." Noah, filled with the spirit of understanding, felt the weight of a divine burden. The earth had been cleansed, but with this great mercy came the weight of responsibility. Within him stirred the knowledge that a new beginning would not only require strength, but also a heart tuned to God's voice. Then he took the first steps towards the opening of the ark, his heart filled with both trepidation and excitement. He sought confirmation from the Lord, lifting his eyes toward the heavens. "O Lord, is it the time to step forth into the living world? Will you guide our feet upon the renewing earth?" As the final echo of thunder faded into memory, and brooks of crystal water filled the earth, the Lord spoke gently into Noah's spirit, and he felt peace wash over him like the gentle rain that had once fallen in judgment. "Go forth, my faithful servant. For behold, I shall establish my covenant, and you shall be the father of many nations." With a heart steadfast and full of faith, Noah gathered his family together. Let us remember before we step into this new day the path of righteousness the Lord requires. The earth is ours to nurture, and we are charged with its care. With trembling hands, he opened the door of the ark and stepped onto the dry ground. The solid earth beneath felt foreign yet familiar, as blessings and burdens intertwined as one. Noah and his family descended, animals of every kind following. Yet they stood still for a moment, absorbing the beauty of creation, once lost but now restored. The laughter of his children filled the air, echoing back to the days of joy that had come before. At that moment, a rainbow began to arch across the sky, vibrant and radiant, a symbol of God's unending love and promise. The family gazed up in awe, and Noah understood with deep clarity this was a sign of the covenant that would not only bless them, but generations to come. Post the eon of wrath, Noah proclaimed with arms raised high, this rainbow shall signify the everlasting promise of God. No longer shall he destroy the world by floods, but with mercy shall he guide the hearts of men. Yet, even as they celebrated, Noah felt within him the pulse of divine destiny. The world was filled anew, and shadows of the past still beckoned. He turned to his family. What shall we do now? What sacrifices must we bring before the Lord in praise? As they gathered for an offering, the flames of the altar rose high, carrying the sweet scent of devotion to God. The heavens opened, and once more the Spirit spoke to Noah, revealing that the fruits of their labor were but the beginning, a call to spread his message throughout the earth and to multiply in his name. In that moment, Noah knew their future was not simply to dwell on the earth, but to engage in the unfolding story of redemption. And so, with hands lifted and hearts united, they set forth into the land, determined to walk in obedience, embracing the unknown with courage. And yet a whisper of divine mystery lingered in the air, for God's plan was vast, intricately woven beyond their sight. What shapes would the covenant take? What trials awaited them to reveal the heart of God? Indeed, the journey had begun, but the fullness of his design was yet to be unveiled, as they stood at the precipice of destiny, ready to discover the next unfolding of his sovereign plan. And it came to pass, as Noah beheld the splendor of the new earth unfolding beneath the vibrant hues of the covenant rainbow, he called his family to him, saying, "Let us walk upon this land, and let us remember the ways of the Lord. For he has delivered us from the waters of destruction, and now he has bestowed upon us the command to replenish and tend this earth." Noah's heart swelled with the weight of his mission, as he imparted wisdom to his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. "We must be diligent and righteous, for the Lord desires a people who will walk in his ways. Let us build homes, sow seeds, and honor the creation that he has so graciously restored." With spirits ignited, the family ventured forth from the ark, breathing in the fresh air, which invigorated their souls, perfumed with the scent of renewal. The beasts of the field and fowl of the air began to roam freely, unaware of the man who had stood against the tides of chaos. As the days turned into weeks, Noah cultivated the earth. He planted vineyards and tilled the soil, guided by the wisdom given to him by the Lord. As he worked, he engraved upon the hearts of his children the stories of faith and hope, a lineage intended to carry forth the legacy of God's promise. "Come, my children," he said one evening as the sun dipped low, casting golden light upon the landscape. "Let us gather and recount the mighty works of the Lord, and let our praises ascend like the smoke of our offerings." Thus they worshipped together, hearts entwined in the sweetness of unity and adoration. Yet as their voices rose in prayer, a shadow crept into Noah's heart, a foreboding concern for what lay ahead. One day, as Noah reflected upon the covenant with the Almighty, he sought the Lord in earnestness. "O God of glory, grant me understanding. What lies before us? How shall we build upon this foundation of grace?" The Lord's voice echoed in his spirit, a gentle yet profound reminder. "Noah, my servant, your role is to lead according to my will, and though trials may come, I shall be with you. I will make your name great, and from you shall arise a multitude. Yet prepare your heart, for the ways of man are often fraught with challenges." With solemnly, Noah considered the words, pondering the weight of prophecy and purpose in his life. He gathered his sons once more, imparting wisdom not only of cultivation, but of vigilance. Be wise, my sons. The hearts of men are easily led astray. Remain steadfast in your devotion to the Lord, for the earth must be filled with His light. Days turned into years, and as the family multiplied, a thriving community began to form around them. Yet whispers of discontent began to arise among neighboring nations. A learned skepticism regarding the covenant shared by Noah and the Almighty. Can it be true, they began to ask, that a flood will not overwhelm us again? How long will this miracle of the rainbow last, or is it but a fleeting sign? Their words echoed through the valleys, and Noah, perceiving the growing darkness in the hearts of men, felt the urgency of his calling intensify. "For I tell you," he proclaimed to his family and the newly formed community, "the Lord bids us to arise, to be custodians of His earth. We shall be sowers of truth in a world filled with doubt." Yet even as they embraced the calling to speak of God's promises, a chill of impending challenge crept closer. Noah felt the burden of his prophetic calling weigh heavily on him. "Dear children," he said one evening, "the days shall not always be as they are now. Calamity may look upon us with a familiar face. We must hold steadfast in our faith." And so, with moonlight draping over the humble abode, Noah felt the stirrings of something far greater than mere rebellion, a shift in the heavens, a whisper of impending trials that would test the foundations of their covenant with God. As he cast his gaze towards the stars, a truth began to unfold. The time draws near for God's promise to be revealed fully, yet trials await. Our destiny intertwines with the fabric of faith and rebellion. What must come will come, and our hearts must prepare. Thus they stood, poised at the crossroads of obedience and defiance, ready to embrace the mantle of their calling against a world that might soon forget the lessons of the past. And as the dawn broke anew, a question hung in the air, a divine mystery. What trials lay ahead that would reveal the enduring power of His covenant and test their resolve? And it came to pass, in the days following the solemn gathering of Noah and his family, that the earth began to flourish under their care. The hillsides, once barren, now danced with life as fields of grain swayed in the gentle breeze. The laughter of children filled the air, a melody of hope and renewal. Noah, intent on nurturing his offspring in the ways of the Lord, encouraged them to observe the natural world around. "Look and consider, my sons. The Lord has made each creature and plant, filling the earth with His bounty. We must be like good stewards, giving thanks and maintaining what He has entrusted to us." Yet, even as Noah spoke, there came whispers on the wind from far-off lands. The nations swirled with ideas and thoughts that turned against the covenant, and the hearts of men grew restless. Amongst the gathering tribes, a powerful man rose to prominence. His name was Nimrod. Bold and fierce, he crafted a vision of unity among the people. Yet it was not a unity rooted in the fear of the Lord, but one that sought to elevate man and diminish the remembrance of God's mighty acts. With ambition, Nimrod declared, "Let us build a city and a tower, whose height shall reach to the heavens. We shall make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered across the earth." This proclamation ignited the spirits of many, who, forgetting the covenant, aligned themselves with the rebels' vision. Noah, discerning the peril that loomed, turned to Ham, Shem, and Japheth, his heart heavy with foreboding. "My sons, darkness gathers among the people. They seek to construct a monument to their own might and forget the one who has delivered them. Their pride blinds them to our Creator's power." They gathered in prayer that night, the flickering of the fire illuminating their faces, casting shadows of prayerful stillness. "O Lord," Noah invoked, "guide us in these troubled times. Grant us courage to stand against the tide of rebellion. Fill our hearts with your wisdom in our hour of need." As dawn broke, the family observed the distant bustle of those drawn to Nimrod's aspiration. "We must not be like them," Shem advised, his voice steady. "Our allegiance lies with the Lord, and we shall not be lured by the vanity of this world." Days passed into weeks, and as tensions grew, Noah received word that many had traveled to the plains of Shinar, swept up in the ambition of the mighty Nimrod. Distress spread within Noah's heart, and he entreated the Lord once more. "Father, what shall we do? How shall we prevent the defilement of that which you have so graciously created?" In the stillness of that moment, a revelation dawned upon Noah. The Lord spoke to him, saying, "Go forth, testify to the people, proclaim the covenant I have made, warn them of the waywardness that leads to destruction." With boldness, imbued by God's voice, Noah called upon his sons, preparing their hearts. "Come, let us be heralds of truth. We shall speak against the coming darkness, igniting the fire of remembrance among those who have forgotten." Thus they embarked on a journey toward Shinar, their footsteps resolute upon the earth that echoed with past promises. Day by day, they encountered gathered multitudes, the fervor of human aspiration etched upon their faces. "Return to the ways of the Lord," Noah cried, "for he has set his mark upon this earth. The covenant endures, yet it requires your hearts to remain true." But the crowd, caught in the allure of Nimrod's words, responded with laughter and scorn. "What do you know of power and unity? We are the builders of our fate." With each rejection, Noah's resolve deepened. He recalled the covenant God made with him, and within the depths of his spirit, he felt the stirring of a greater purpose unfolding. "Little do they know," he murmured softly as he looked toward the heavens, "that their choices foretell a greater mystery woven into the fabric of God's design, an eventual reckoning they cannot escape." And in the silence that followed his declaration, a sacred tension hung in the air. What was the fate awaiting the children of the earth, who stood at the precipice of arrogance? Would they heed the warnings of the faithful, or would they plunge headlong into calamity? With the weight of their mission pressing upon them, they felt the urgency of God's plans beckoning forth the next chapter in his divine narrative. A revelation that would soon shatter the illusion of man's power and re-establish the might of the Almighty. As the family of Noah journeyed toward Shinar, the air thickened with an unholy ambition. They witnessed the rising tower, an edifice that reached skyward like hands grasping for the heavens, defying the Creator's intent. The people, gripped by pride, toiled tirelessly, their unity forged not in love but in rebellion against the divine. Noah, filled with a righteous zeal, called upon his sons as they approached the heart of the city. "Beloved sons, see how the hearts of our kin are turned away from wisdom. They fashion bricks and mortar, yet their souls are hard like stone. We must persist in our mission to declare God's covenant." Shem replied, "Father, we must approach them with gentleness, for their hearts may be hardened, but their spirits can still be reached." Ham and Japheth nodded, conviction igniting in their eyes. Thus, they entered the throng, bold yet wary. Noah's presence commanded attention, his voice authoritative yet filled with compassion. "People of Shinar," he proclaimed, "heed the words of the Lord. You toil in vain if your efforts are not founded upon his truth. Turn back from this path of rebellion, for the covenant stands as a beacon of hope in this dark hour." The multitude ceased their work, turning toward this unexpected herald. Some stood in disbelief, others in derision. A man, firm and resolute, none other than Nimrod himself, stepped forward from the crowd, his gaze piercing. Who is this man to admonish us? Is he not merely a relic of a bygone age, one who was saved from the flood but now dares to dictate our fate? Noah, undeterred, met Nimrod's fiery gaze with unyielding faith. "It is not I who speaks, but the voice of the Almighty. You build a tower to exalt your names, yet remember the flood, which was a testament to man's folly. God desires a humble heart, not a tower to reach the sky." The crowd murmured, a wave of uncertainty rippling through them. Some began to question the foundation of their actions. For a brief moment, doubt flickered in their hearts. Yet Nimrod, quick to seize the moment, barked, "Do not listen to this absurdity. We are stronger together, and we have the power to shape our destiny. The heavens may be far, but we will reach them." The exchange stoked the fires of animosity, and the hearts of many began to harden once more. With renewed vigor, they rallied behind Nimrod, drowning out Noah's voice with their cries of ambition, chanting his name like a battle hymn. Yet among the onlookers, there were a few whose hearts were stirred. A woman pushed her way through the crowd, her eyes wide with understanding. "People, do you not remember the wonders he performed? How he saved us through the waters? Do you seek to forget the promise that the Lord will not sweep the earth again with a flood?" "Who are you to question our resolve?" one retorted, yet her conviction echoed with undeniable truth. "The earth is filled with his glory," she urged, her voice trembling with urgency. "Honor him and let us prosper according to his ways." But the roar of the assembly drowned out her plea, and Noah felt the weight of the moment press heavily upon him. Desperation mingled with hope, and he turned to his sons with a heart burdened, yet resolute. "We must persist in prayer and in faith, for our testimony is not in vain. God will not forsake the humble." As they withdrew to seek the Lord in intercession, a shroud of heaviness surrounded them, revealing the underbelly of what lay ahead. A turning point in history was at hand. In the shadow of the towering ambition of men, the light of the divine began to flicker in the darkness. Yet unseen forces conspired, the ground trembling beneath their feet, as the Lord's great design awaited its moment. And as they prayed, the skies darkened, a sign of the tumult to come, a revelation of God's sovereign power and a foreshadowing of what he had destined for all of creation. Unbeknownst to them, the scattered fragments of the divine plan were already in motion, waiting to be unveiled. What was the true purpose of their cries and prayers? What mighty acts of the Lord were soon to break forth, shattering human pride and revealing a profound covenant, yet unfolding in the great narrative of redemption? And it came to pass that as Noah and his sons withdrew from the clamor of Shinar, a heavy spirit enveloped the land. Clouds darkened the skies, casting a shadow upon the earth, and the air was thick with the weight of the tension brewing among men. "Father," Shem spoke urgently, "what shall we do now? The hearts of our kin seem impervious to the truth." His voice trembled, weighed down by desperation. Noah turned to his sons, his resolute visage reflecting both weariness and divine determination. "We shall implore the Lord for wisdom. We are but instruments in his hands. It is he who softens the heart of stone," he said, recalling the words of the psalmist, though the scroll was yet to be written. So they found a secluded place, away from the hubbub of rebellion, and knelt in earnest prayer. "O Lord, hear our cry. We beseech thee. Grant us strength and clarity that we might stand against the tides of iniquity sweeping through our kin." And as they prayed, many miles away, the towers of Shinar stood defiant, their builders united in ambition, oblivious to the ever-watchful eyes of the Almighty. Nimrod rallied the people, rallying them under banners of pride. "With our own hands we will reach the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over the face of all the earth." The crowd roared in agreement, their voices rising in a cacophony of fervent rebellion, drowning out the echo of Noah's warning. But in the midst of this tumult, there lingered a simmer among some hearts. They watched the sky darken, and fear touched their spirits, whispering truths long buried within. One among them, a man named Abimelech, stepped forward, a heart softly stirred by the words of Noah. "Is it not written in our hearts that we are made in his image? Must we seek to usurp the heavens when we were meant to walk humbly upon the earth? Do we not recall the flood and the mercy that followed?" Yet, as his words emerged, Nimrod's wrathful voice boomed, silencing the echo of reason. "Cowardice will not reign among us. Follow me, and we shall prove our strength." The fervor of his ambition caught the hearts of many, yet there were still whispers of conscience among the people, who began to steal away, seeking solace in the shadows. Back beneath the weighty heavens, Noah's family remained devoted in intercession. Ham's brow furrowed in thought. What if, despite our prayers, the wrath of God is drawn near? Perhaps the flood was merely the precursor of what lies ahead. Noah raised his eyes to the darkened skies. "Fear not, my sons, for it is in this moment of darkness that his light will shine brightest. Our God is a God of covenant, and he remembers his promises." Suddenly, a thunderous voice erupted from the firmament. "Nimrod! You who have led my people astray, the time of reckoning draws nigh." The ground trembled beneath the feet of the builders as they faltered, confusion swirling like a tempest in their minds. The earth itself began to shift. Bricks and mortar trembled in response to the divine decree. The foundations of the tower quaked, and in a moment of divine judgment, the edifice began to fracture. The clang of stone against stone rang out through the land, a mighty testament to the sovereign plan of the Lord. Amidst the chaos, Noah stood firm, his heart resolute as he spoke to his sons. "Now, dear ones, let us prepare, for the Lord's hand has not been shortened, nor has his ear grown dull. A scattering is at hand, and from these ruins he will yet fulfill his promise." And thus, as the tumult of rebellion clashed with divine power, the hearts of men were about to witness what they had not seen in generations, a revelation of God's righteousness. Little did they know that a great transformation awaited the remnant who would heed the voice of the Almighty. But what would emerge from the ashes of their pride? As the heavens wept and the earth shook, an unseen chapter was poised to unfold, revealing the very heart of God's eternal purpose, a promise intertwined with the redemption of nations yet to come. And it came to pass that the moment of divine intervention unfurled like a tempest over the plains of Shinar. As the voice of the Lord reverberated through the air, the people trembled, their hearts quaking in fear. The once mighty tower shuddered as if stricken by the hand of God, and around them chaos erupted. Nimrod, with a fierceness of rage, strode forward, unyielding in his defiance. "Let not fear sow discord. We shall be emboldened," he bellowed, though doubt flickered in the eyes of many who had once rallied under his banner. Yet, as the foundation crumbled, their resolve began to weaken, and whispers of treachery against their leader coiled around them. Meanwhile, Noah and his sons, still kneeling in prayer, felt the tremors beneath them, the manifest power of the Almighty surrounding their souls. "Stay steadfast, my sons," Noah commanded, a resolute fire igniting within his heart. "For the Lord fights for us, and the faithfulness of his covenant remains." The dust billowed like a cloud of grief, and the structure of pride that had sought to pierce the heavens could no longer withstand the sovereign decree. As they gazed upon the ruins, Abimelech, trembling and shaken, turned back to his brethren, his voice trembling yet firm. "Come, we have turned our backs on the Creator, and what looms is the just punishment for our vanity. Let us seek him while he may be found." Yet the multitude faltered, their hearts caught in the web of fear and pride spun by Nimrod. A great confusion spread amongst them, as the splintering stones echoed their turmoil. "Flee!" cried Abimelech, his voice dripping with urgency. "The time for repentance is now, before the dust of our arrogance rises to the heavens." As the voices of reason and rebellion clashed, the shepherds of the covenant remained in prayer, their hearts united in seeking divine mercy for those who were lost. "O Lord, turn the hearts of our people, deliver them from the shadow of Nimrod's reign." Noah intoned, his eyes locked in fervency to the heavens. Even as Nimrod's tyranny faltered, he did not relent. "Do not listen to the fear-bearer," he shouted, high above the clamor. "Our unity shall prevail. We are the architects of our destinies." Noah, perceiving the encroaching scattering, declared, "The Lord shall divide the tongues of man as he sees fit, but his plan cannot be thwarted. From this moment his wrath hath yet but begun, and we shall witness the rise of nations from the ashes of our hubris." Before his words faded, a furious wind swept through the land, and tongues of flame flickered across the faces of the people, languages anchoring upon their lips, separating them across the earth. The walls of civic pride that were to touch the heavens now separated the hearts of men in confusion by divine decree. And as they scattered, confusion turned to realization. Each man and woman found themselves alienated from kin, their thoughts eclipsed by the newly spoken languages. Their dreams of greatness dissolved like mist before the sun. And in that moment, beneath the weight of their own aspirations, the stark reality of their folly fled before them. Noah, blessed by the vision bestowed upon him, knew the promise of renewal would come from a faithful remnant. "Indeed, O Lord," he murmured through renewed strength, "you shall choose from the scattered a lineage of hope woven into the very fabric of humanity." Thus emerged the dawn of a new age amid wreckage, the spreading of nations destined for a greater purpose. Yet as each family wandered forth, little did they anticipate that the threads of their stories would soon intertwine once more, woven by the hand of God towards fulfillment. For what lay ahead remained hidden in the depths of the Almighty's plan. From the ashes of rebellion may rise a tapestry of grace, a promise of reconciliation yet to unfold across the earth, beckoning the weary to seek his face again. And it came to pass that as the tumultuous aftermath of the tower's collapse settled, Noah gathered his family, united in spirit and purpose upon the firm ground. He raised his eyes towards the heavens, the broken remnants of the tower a stark reminder of the folly of pride. "Behold the truth, my dear ones," he proclaimed with a voice imbued with divine assurance. "The Lord our God reigns supreme over all the earth, and his covenant remains unbroken, guiding our path forward." His sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, stood by his side, a mixture of awe and reverence reflecting in their eyes. "What shall we do now, Father?" inquired Ham, the weight of history resting upon the family's shoulders. "Let us honor the Lord, for he has brought us through the flood and sheltered us through the storm. We must seek the lost and weary, bearing witness to the covenant of our God." "We are now charged with a greater purpose," Noah replied, his spirit lifted by the promise that lay ahead. And so, emboldened by the unfolding plan of the Almighty, they traversed the desolated plain, calling to those who trembled in fear of their own ambition. "Hear the words of truth," Noah cried, his voice echoing across the fractured landscape. "For the Lord has seen our rebellion and divided our tongues, but he longs to unite our hearts in his love. Bring forth humility and seek the face of your Creator." Among the scattered remnants, a few began to turn their hearts back toward the faithful witness of Noah. Abimelech, now humbled by the lessons learned, stepped forward, seeking to gather those who had lost their way. "Friends," he called, "we have faltered in our pride, but let us rebuild, not in defiance of God, but in honor of his great mercy. Let us turn back, lest we be lost in the chaos." Through the days that followed, as the scattered tribes began to find their identities among the languages, Noah led his family in gathering those willing to return to the ways of the Lord. He instilled within them the importance of living under the covenant made by God, a covenant that promised restoration and hope. They established homes, sowed seeds, and cultivated the land, nurturing both the earth and the hearts of men toward righteousness. Time passed, and Noah's family flourished, growing into a nation that embraced the covenant with gratitude. They shared their history, recounting the miraculous deliverance from the flood and the wondrous power of the Lord. Each night, around the flickering flames, they gathered to pray, to worship, and to reflect on the lessons woven through their lineage. As Noah stood as a patriarch, he proclaimed to his people, "Remember, the love of God is steadfast and unyielding. Let this covenant we hold dear be a legacy passed down through generations, teaching our children to walk humbly and to serve the Almighty with all their hearts." The people flourished, honoring the Creator and multiplying in number. Nations began to rise from the foundations of faith built upon obedience, and once again, the promise of reconciliation flourished across the earth. Yet, as time stretched forth its fingers into the future, a profound truth echoed through the ages. The nature of man's heart remained susceptible, even amid the shadow of the covenant's light. As the years unfolded, whispers of a new challenge emerged from those yet to heed the call. Divergent paths began to weave through the tapestry of humanity, and again, hope and despair intertwined in a delicate balance. Yet, among those chosen to bear the witness of the covenant, there remained a steadfast remembrance of the mercy that followed judgment, a divine lesson that would echo throughout time. In solemn reflection, Noah understood his role still resonated beyond the boundaries of his family. He became a beacon of faith on earth, a lighthouse guiding souls toward the promise yet to come. "Indeed, my Lord," he murmured, "the threads of your love are woven deeper than the heart can perceive, and I shall journey with you into the unknown, knowing your hand is upon my lineage." And thus, the settled earth groaned under the weight of destiny. From this moment arose a world forever changed, shaped by the echoes of the flood, the covenant of love, mercy, and the call to unity amidst diversity. The sacred story continued to unfold, and God's sovereign plan for redemption, etched in the hearts of the faithful, surged forth, ready to awaken souls to the truths transcending generations yet unseen. This is the unending journey of faith, the enduring narrative of grace, where the remnant who remains faithful will find restoration beyond measure and revel in the blessed hope of a future united under the banner of God's eternal love. Beloved friends, as we ponder the profound truths of Noah's journey, let us be moved to action in our own lives. Subscribe immediately to this channel to stay connected to God's Word and never miss the powerful stories that reshape our spirits. Leave a like now to help spread God's message through the vastness of the algorithm. Your engagement can stir hearts across the globe. Comment below with your reflections on this sacred journey and how it has transformed your faith, for your voice can inspire others seeking deeper understanding. And do not wait even one more second to share this testimony. Send this video to 5 friends who need to encounter the truth of God's love and redemptive power. Together, let us illuminate the world with the everlasting light of Christ.